Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eun Jung, Second Secretary from the United Nations Division, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I'm very glad to serve as your MC today. I also would like to welcome all the participants to this International Career Fair. The 10th International Career Fair is hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Seoul Metropolitan City. The MOFA has been organizing the International Career Fair since 2008 to provide valuable information to those who wish to pursue a career in the UN or in other international organizations. For your information, we also have prepared for the recruitment booths and exhibitions as special side events for this year. Many international organizations, including UNHCR, WFP, UNDP, IOM, and ICAO, are participating in the event. And you can look around the booths and exhibitions right on this floor. In this occasion today, we have here our distinguished guests from the MOFA, Seoul Metropolitan Government, and international organizations. Please, when your name's being called, stand up so that we can recognize you one by one. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me welcoming them with a warm round of applause. First, His Excellency Mr. Kim Chang-bum, Ambassador for International Relations of Seoul Metropolitan Government. Mr. Im Jong-taek, Deputy Director General for the International Organizations Bureau of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ms. Yoon Barker from the UN Secretariat. Mr. John Thomas from the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Mr. Jeong-Luc Maxilung from the UN Development Program. Ms. Joanna Sadie from the World Food Program. Mr. Eric Tagnon from the World Health Organization. Mr. Zamir Proton from the International Civil Aviation Organization. Mr. Makoto Miyasako from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And Ms. Clarissa Reineck, also from the OECD. I would also like to introduce a few more valuable guests from the international organizations here in Seoul. Mr. Naveed Hussain, representative of the UNHCR Korea. Mr. Lee Jong-hyun, Special Advisor to the Secretary General, UFNA Seoul. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, I would like to welcome our guests who have joined us this afternoon to share their messages. First of all, welcoming remarks will be delivered by His Excellency Mr. Kim Chang-bum, Ambassador for International Relations of Seoul Metropolitan Government. Please welcome Ambassador Kim Chang-bum to the stage with a warm round of applause.
Good afternoon. 반갑습니다, 여러분. Thank you so much for all the participants and representatives of UN system and international organizations who are with us today. Let me start with warm greetings and welcome to all the participants and representatives. I'd like to thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Deputy DG Lim Jong-taek for international organizations for co-organizing this year's International Career Fair. This is the 10th event that we have organized together, and especially I'd like to feel grateful for the support of the World Federation of UN Association Seoul, UFNA Seoul, and Mr. Lee, and their staff and volunteers in orange shirts in the operation and preparations of this event. My special thanks go to representatives and human resource and management officials from the UN system and international organizations. We have 7 international organizations overseas who are represented here for the main event, and 11 organizations located in Seoul for the side events, career consultation booths, and exhibitions. This fair is designed to reward the strong drive of those who are eager to interact with international professionals and discuss their future. The fair encourages every one of you to get a first-hand look at the world of international career and also interact with the international organization staff. Actually, they are coming all the way from diverse cities around the world. Rome, Italy, New York in the United States, Hungary, Budapest, Paris, France, Bangkok, Thailand, Manila, Philippines, and what else? They are actually talent hunters to catch your talent and hope to see you at the international stage. This is also part of Seoul's increasing efforts to provide job opportunities for young and talented citizens of Seoul. We hope this event will promote better understanding on the international career and provide hands-on tips and guidance for young professionals through in-depth and mock interview sessions. The City of Seoul is also pleased to hold new side events participated by 11 international organizations located in Seoul. 5 organizations, including United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Korea, World Food Program, Korea, and Undp Seoul Policy Center has prepared the career consultation booths right next to this hall to provide information on career opportunities in Seoul. And also exhibitions are in place right in the lobby outside this hall. Through the main and side event today, we hope you will explore new opportunities in the international career, not only outside Korea, but also in Seoul. The City of Seoul will continue to create new opportunities like today's event so that citizens of Seoul can stretch and develop their career paths. Once again, I reiterate my thanks to all the representatives from the international organization who have joined us today. And best luck for your future and enjoy the great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Next, Mr. Im Jung-taek, Deputy Director General for the International Organization Bureau, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, will deliver the opening remarks. Please welcome Mr. Lim with a warm round of applause.
Ambassador Kim Chang-bom, Seoul Metropolitan City Government, and distinguished participants from international organizations and dear friends. Very good afternoon. I would like to welcome you all to the 10th International Career Fair. First of all, I want to express my special thanks to the participants of international organizations who came long distances to share their precious knowledge and experience with us. It's the 3rd time we are co-organizing this event together with the Seoul Metropolitan City Government. Seoul was our first choice in working with local government. We witnessed the big synergy in working with Seoul City Government in the last 2 years, and we decided to co-organize the fair again this year. I thank the Seoul City Government, especially Ambassador Kim Chang-bom, for generous support and assistance. As a person in charge of international organizations at the Foreign Ministry, I have plenty of chances to communicate with our young talents, and I learn delightfully more and more of them become interested in pursuing careers in international organizations to contribute to international peace and security, human rights, and development. For example, Last year, more than 250 young people applied for the Junior Professional Officer Program, despite the high qualification required for applicants. Considering the jump from 70 applicants in 2015, it was a remarkable increase, showing that careers in international organizations have gained more popularity among our youngsters. In this regard, the 10th International Career Fair is very timely and significant. Along with the increasing interest and passion of our youngsters, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is ready to support our young talents in searching for the most suitable career path in international organizations and give them as many opportunities as possible. As you may be aware, our new administration puts the highest priority in creating job opportunities for young people. I hope you make the best use of the possible programs and services provided to you by the government. First, we are planning to select 10 new JPOs, Junior Professional Officers, for this year. And the selection process will begin in a few weeks. Taking this opportunity, I would like to explain briefly the change in JPO selection process. Starting from 2016, the Foreign Ministry only decides the organization and post for our JPOs, and the other processes, including the pre-screening of the applicants, tests, interviews, and final selection, are all decided by relevant organizations. Since the new selection process of JPO program became very much similar to those of the UN and other organizations, applying for the program alone will help you get familiar with the UN and other international organizations' recruitment process. In addition, we have doubled the number of UN volunteers for this year, so we are going to send a total 50 UMBs this year. The first round of the selection process for 25 new UMBs has already begun, but you still have a chance to apply for the remaining 25 UMBs post in the coming months. I would also like to advise you to make good use of the UN Recruitment Center run by the Foreign Ministry. You can find lots of information by visiting the center or its website and Facebook. The center provides information on JPO and UNV programs and job vacancies at the UN and experience of former JPOs and UNVs, and useful tips to prepare for career in the UN. Last but not least, I would like to remind you there are a significant number of international organizations here in Seoul, including the headquarters of the Global Green Growth Institute and the International Vaccine Institute, as well as several offices, UNHCR, WFP, UNICEF, OHCR, and so on. I believe these organizations will also provide you with abundant opportunities to gain experiences in the global context without leaving your own city. In closing, I encourage you to take full advantage of today's career fair to gain a better understanding of the recruitment process and to network with the experts from international organizations. I wish you all the best in your quest to prepare a career in international organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome our guests from the international organizations, one by one, to the stage to give a presentation. The first speaker is Ms. Yoon Barker from the UN Secretariat. Please welcome her with a big hand.
Good afternoon. My name is Yoon Barker. I work in the Office of Human Resources Management in the UN Secretariat in New York City. I'm very excited and honored to be here with you today, and I want to thank the organizers of today's event, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Seoul Metropolitan Government. And I also want to thank you for taking your time to come here to learn more about the UN. So in this session, I'm going to give a brief overview of the UN Secretariat and the various career opportunities. The United Nations is an international organization founded in 1945 with 51 original members. Now the membership has grown to 193 member states. And the mission and the work of the UN are guided by the principles and purposes contained in its founding charter. In front of you, you see the UN ecosystem and the various organizations that are part of the UN family. And some of my colleagues will speak about their organization in this session. The three founding pillars and purposes of the UN are to maintain international peace and security, to protect and promote human rights, and to promote economic and social development. When you join the UN, you become an international civil servant. That means we expect you to uphold the highest level of integrity, competence, impartiality, and independence. This shows the list of departments and offices in yellow and regional commissions in blue of the UN Secretariat. We are organized along the departmental lines, with each having its own distinct action and responsibility. Offices and departments coordinate with one another to ensure cohesion when they deliver the mandates of the organization in offices and duty stations around the world. Although not listed here, we have more than 30 peacekeeping and special political peace-building missions as well. The UN headquarters, as you probably know, is located in New York City, which you can see on the top left-hand corner. We also have offices away from headquarters in Nairobi, Geneva, and Vienna. We have economic commissions in Addis Ababa, Bangkok, Beirut, and Santiago. We've been increasing our field operations over the years, and now we have grown to more than 50% of our 40,000 civilian staff working in field locations all over the world, as you can see in the map. We also have more than 100,000 military and police personnel working at these locations as well. Looking at the staff nationalities of all of those who has 1 year or longer contract with UN organization across the UN system, Korea has about 356 staff as of December 2015, and that is about 68th highest number of staff among the 193 member states. Looking specifically at the UN Secretariat, as of December 2016, there were 111 Koreans in the professional and higher categories, and that is about a little bit less than 1% of the 13,000 staff in the same category. There are also 37 general and related staff, Korean staff, in the UN Secretariat as well. Korea is currently considered sufficiently represented, which means that Korea will not be participating in the Young Professional Program. However, there are many other opportunities for Koreans to apply and be considered, as our priority consideration is given to the highest level of competence and not necessarily the nationality. Now let's look at some career opportunities at the United Nations Secretariat. So we have, as you can see, jobs in a number of different functional areas. We have positions for monitoring elections and coordinating relief for humanitarian crisis, to providing administrative and logistical support in carrying out our complex mandates. We group our positions into the categories, 9 categories, as you can see here. And this list can also be used when you are on our website filtering for different jobs. And our website is called careers.un.org. We have various staff positions in the UN. Professional and higher and field service categories are internationally recruited, and staff in these positions should be mobile and willing to work in any duty station. For locally recruited staff, for national professional officers and general service staff, generally they are restricted to work in the location of where they are recruited. We also have temporary positions of less than 1 year. While this is temporary in nature, this is a lot less competitive. So this is something that I would strongly encourage you guys to look into, to see if you can work temporarily at the UN to gain experience and get exposure of what it's like to work there. Other than staff positions, we also have individual consultants and contract positions for short-term and long-term durations. An internship program is great for those who are still in school or has recently graduated, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about this later. And UN Volunteers is another great way for young professionals with limited years of experience to be able to work at the UN alongside all the staffs and executives and to learn more about the UN working environment. To be considered for professional and higher categories, the candidates must meet all the criteria that's listed in the job opening. To be considered for a P2 position, you must have 2 years or more of relative experience. And to be considered for a P3 position, you must have at least 5 years of relevant experience. While we require a graduate degree or higher, if you only have bachelor's degree, you just need to simply add 2 years to the minimum requirement that's listed here. Junior Professional Officer Program, which was just mentioned, is a successful program in the UN. And it's a great way for young, talented people to come and join the UN alongside other P1s and P1 and P2 staff having the exact same roles and responsibility to work at the UN between 2 to 4 years. I have seen a number of JPOs after finishing their assignment being selected for a regular position and staying with the UN. So again, this is another great way for young, talented professionals to join the UN. And for more information, please contact your Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Internship, while it's unpaid, again, it's a great opportunity for those who does not have any experience to join the UN and to work with us. To be considered as an intern, you need to be in your last year of bachelor degree or be currently enrolled in master's or PhD program or would have graduated less than 1 year ago. And the duration of the engagement is usually 2 to 6 months. And the jobs for internship is available on our careers website along with all the other job openings. So you can pick and choose which one you want to apply for, look at the job description to gain better understanding of what you would do if you were to be selected, as well as you can pick the duty station of your choice. So this is the website, the homepage of the website that I mentioned, careers.un.org. We list all our job openings, including internship, on this website. This website has a lot of great information about working at the UN, how to apply for jobs at the UN, and to prepare yourself for interviews and so forth. I also strongly encourage you to visit this website often because we advertise jobs constantly. If you're still in school or if you're not sure if UN is right for you, I would also ask you to go to this website and look for jobs that are in the job network of your desire. So that way you can learn about what you may do in 10 years from now so that you can align your future career or experience on the same with the same roadmap. So this is a great source of information for you. Lastly, some advice for potential candidates. Since we have jobs in so many different areas, as you just saw, you should be open to gaining experience in other nonprofit or even corporate organizations. And then you should also be open to expanding your horizon and work outside of Korea, or work in multicultural teams wherever you are, so that you can be exposed to what it's like to work with people from all over the world. Learning one of the 6 official languages of the UN would be a great asset as well. And lastly, be open to take chances and take a risk. Maybe you want to join the UN temporarily on a short-term contract or try different, maybe a consulting engagement to see if you can find more opportunities or gain more experience. You should be willing to take chances and be open to new opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yoon Barker, for your informative presentation. The next speaker is Mr. John Thomas from the UNHCR. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Good afternoon. Come on, guys. Good afternoon. Ah, that's more like it. I mean, you're here for a job, right? If you're here for a job, you need to be participative. You know, you need to speak up, right? So I hope you can ask the right questions later. Okay, good afternoon again. And thank you so much for coming today. And again, as my colleague has stated earlier, we would like to express our appreciation to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well as the Seoul Metropolitan Office for organizing this career fair. And we are very glad to be here to share with you our insights in terms of what we are here to offer in UN itself. But basically, I am going to be focusing more on UNHCR itself, and then my colleagues will follow suit. Now, before I start, let me ask a question. How many of you know what is UNHCR? Okay, so, I mean, it's good because the lesser hands, it's better for me because then whatever I say, you will believe it, right? It's better that you don't know much. But if you don't know, then you need to find out because the first thing you should have done before coming to this meeting is go and look up all our organization and understand what we are, who we are, okay? So, but anyway, I'll give you another chance and I will explain to you what is UNHCR and what we do. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to try to, I mean, they were giving me 10 minutes, but I'm going to, Yoon took 2 minutes of mine, so I am going to stretch it a little bit. Okay, but I hope to share with you, I call it the 5 W's. Who we are, what we do, who do we serve, who do we want, okay, and where do we want to go. Okay, that's the kind of W's I want to share with you. And at the end of the day, you know, if you can remember when you leave this hall, at least what is UNHCR, that's a big win for me already and for my colleague who are in Korea itself. Okay, so I want to start off with the first slide. Oops, it's not moving. Okay. Okay, so this short slide here, short video, goes into the origin of UNHCR. When did we were formed? How did we came about? And where we are now? Okay, and it's a very good, I mean, it's available on YouTube. You can Google it and look it up yourself later on. But it's something which is very informative. As a job seeker, if you want to understand what is UNHCR doing, this is a perfect video.
The faces tell our story. The displaced, the disowned, the deprived. They are who we are, who we help. Lives uprooted, torn apart by wars, conflicts, persecution, natural disasters. All of them people of concern for the United Nations Refugee Agency. The Second World War left nations torn apart and refugees fleeing their homelands. More than 1 million of them. Governments needed help. The crisis needed coordination. In December 1950, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees was established. In July 1951, the United Nations Convention relating to the status of refugees was adopted. A refugee is someone outside his or her own country and unable to return as a result of a well-founded fear of persecution on grounds of race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership of a social group. Its founders thought UNHCR's task would take just 3 years. They were wrong. In 1956, Hungarians rose up against Soviet occupation and were crushed. 200,000 people fled their country. It was UNHCR's first emergency. The 1960s saw decolonization in Africa and wars. Independence wars, civil wars, border wars. Hundreds of thousands were forced to flee. Refugees were no longer just a post-World War European issue. They could be found across the world. And so the legal foundation guiding UNHCR's work was changed in the 1967 protocol. It would have global responsibility for refugees. In the 1970s, the spotlight of conflict shone on Latin America and Asia. In the 1980s and 1990s, new wars erupted in Africa, the Middle East, Southern Europe. The numbers of those in need spiraled upward in Lebanon, Somalia, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Uganda. In 1951, UNHCR started with 34 employees. By the end of 2014, it had over 9,330 working in 125 countries, and 146 countries had signed the Convention on Refugees. Its work recognized with Nobel Peace Prizes in 1954 and 1981. At the end of the 20th century, in a world of civil wars, ethnic conflict, natural disasters, there were new victims. Driven from their homes but not their countries. UN guiding principles identified a new group of people in need: the internally displaced. Internally displaced persons are persons or groups of persons who have been forced or obliged to flee or to leave their homes or places of habitual residence, in particular as a result of or in order to avoid the effects of armed conflict, situations of generalized violence, violations of human rights or natural or human-made disasters, and who have not crossed an internationally recognized state border. As conflicts have altered, so has the role of UNHCR. In the Balkans, UNHCR moved to work directly in the conflict zones, something it had not done in its first 4 decades. It continues to do so to this day. In the new century, the world now has the highest number of refugees and internally displaced since World War II. Nearly 60 million. There are long, bitter wars in Somalia and Afghanistan, strife in Central African Republic, Nigeria, South Sudan, Yemen, Libya. And in Syria, a country fractured. 4 million refugees have fled to nearby countries. Over 7 million are internally displaced. And at sea, thousands of lives lost. Syrians, Somalis, Eritreans, Ethiopians, all in search of a safer life. The challenges grow alarmingly. UNHCR, over 60 years after its birth, will face them all, innovating and adapting and counting on a protection mandate that is one of the strongest in international law. Partnerships with over 900 other agencies and strong support from donors, governments, and people like you.
Exactly. People like you. I think there's 2 things which you really need to pay attention here. The challenge grows and the people like you. So as you see, with this video itself, why am I here today? Why we are here today is to look for new talent, because the challenge is growing and we are looking for new talent. So you just listened about who we are. Let's see what, oops, I'm going the other way. What do we do? I mean, the video actually talks about really what we do, but let me a little bit explain more in terms of what is the purpose of UNHCR. So our primary purpose, as the video also says, is to safeguard the rights and well-being of refugees. Okay? We do it in 4 ways. We deliver life-saving assistance, we safeguard fundamental human rights, we end statelessness, and we develop durable solution. Now, as you see, UNHCR is not only talking about in play because we are there to protect, but we are also there to ensure that we provide solutions. We want to make sure that we reintegrate the refugee back into society. And that is why it's an entire circle we look at. Okay, what do we do? Okay, so again, I made a mistake, sorry. Okay, and who do we support? We call these people people of concern. These people of concern are divided into 5 different categories. They are called refugees, because people who are forced to flee their country because of persecution. They are stateless people. They are people are asylum seekers, internally displaced persons, and returnees. Now, these definitions are always available on our website, and I encourage you to go and take a look at it. But there is a differentiation between these groups of people we are looking at. There's always a misunderstanding, a misconception that everyone who is running out of the country is a refugee. Okay? Why are they running out of the country? What is happening to them? It all depends, and that's why UNHCR is looking at it as a comprehensive picture. Where do we work? We work almost every part of the world. Okay, we have operations, as you see in the dots there, almost in 128 countries, and it's growing. And the number of staff strength, if you look in the video talked about in 2014, about 9,000. Currently, this is only staff members. If you add another 4,000 of affiliated workforce, people who, our partners, we are almost close to 15,000 employees in UNHCR itself. This is something which I want to emphasize a little bit more. It's the slides about what is the trend currently. You looked at it, and every day you open up the news or you read in the newspaper, you see some kind of a crisis. Okay? Now, I mean, we can't avoid it. Everyone can avoid it as what is happening in the world today. But this is the current status. This is the 2016 numbers. Okay? We have almost 67.7 million people of concern. And out of that, we have almost 37 million internally displaced people, 17 million refugees, 3 million stateless people, 2.8 asylum seekers. Now, this is the data which we are getting, and this number is growing. Every day there is new things happening. As you see the wars which are going on in Middle East, in Africa, this number seems to be increasing. So the question is why? Why should you work for UNHCR? And I want to show you a short clip of people who works for UNHCR saying how do they feel about working in UNHCR. I mean, working for a UN, like what my colleague showed you, the UN is a big family. Ms. Baker showed earlier the whole slide of the different organizations. But working for the different organization has its own passion, it has its own what you call interest. So I like to show you this video which talks about working for UNHCR means what. And my colleagues will also try to tell you the same thing, but don't listen to them, okay? But just watch my video, okay?
Well, working for refugee, it's like working for humanity.
Being a humanitarian worker, it is doing something for a greater good.
I want to work with people and I want to make a difference. And this is actually the place that you can make a difference.
Did you ever know that you were in the middle of my mind?
The most rewarding part is when the people tells you their story, when they express what they have been living, and then you realize that you are doing something that is worthwhile.
Mi abuela se fue por motivos políticos y digamos que todos los días trato con las personas como si fuera un poco mi abuela, ¿no?
Interacting with them, supporting them to grow through this phase, for me is a joy and the little contribution that each and every one of us can give to humanity.
Did you ever know that you were in the middle of my mind?
I tell myself it could be me. And I say refugees are very strong people.
I apologize for the bad quality of the video. There's some issues with the video. But the subtitles, I think, says it all. Okay, why? And why do people work for UNHCR? They come to UNHCR because of the passion. They have seen what we do, the kind of work we do. We work in the field, we work with people of concern, the different types of people of concern, and that's rewarding. And that is why we are looking for young people like you to join us, okay, to address the challenges which is ongoing in the world now. So how do we then, so a little bit about the number of Korean staff working for us now. Okay, we have professional staffs in all those areas, almost about 15 of them, and they are growing. Okay, we would like to recruit more, and that is why I'm here precisely. Okay, and this video here, I'm going to skip this video and show it in the next session. This is words from a current staff who works for us, but due to the bad video, I know I'm going to try to do it later on. But let me take the next couple of minutes just to talk about how do you join UNHCR. There are many ways to join UNHCR. There are many ways to work for UN. Like what my colleague said, I want to reiterate to you that it's not only formally applying to our organization through these resources, but you actually can work through our volunteer program with our partners. Okay, there are many partners who work with us. But the main programs which we have is in these areas. The first area is our talent pools. We have what we call ready-to-hire pools on a continuous basis. Okay, these pools are open throughout the year, and we get people ready to hire for future emergencies, for temporary appointments. So we have our talent pools. We have international vacancies which are announced regularly through our compendium exercises. And then we have temporary appointment, and then we have a competitive young talent program called the entry-level humanitarian professional program. This is like the YPP program or the Jpo program. We have also our, it's called EHP, and then the internships. I'm not going to go into details of each of these programs because they all are available on our website. The talent pools, this is the list of positions. I mean, this is only some of the kind of positions we are looking for. Okay, the bigger list is available. We are actually looking for a variety of fields, okay? And some of them are represented here. So what are we looking for? And again, I want to emphasize this, passion for humanitarian work. I think this is, if you are looking to come and join UNHCR because you want to earn the big bucks, no. Okay, UNHCR doesn't pay the big bucks. Okay, then you go to Wall Street. Because UNHCR is the passion to work with the people of concern. Now, and then you have the normal qualifications, which is common in the UN system. UNHCR is one of the organizations which is bilingual. That means you need a proficiency, a working level knowledge in a second UN language. Ability to work in diverse team and willingness to serve in field locations. As you saw the map earlier, we are a very decentralized field-based organization. So we really need our resources in the field itself. How to apply? Okay, there are many ways to go. You visit our careers page. Okay, you register your profile and then you list all your applications. We only accept online applications. Now, this is a video of your Goodwill Ambassador, okay, who is supporting us. And I would like to hear to you to listen to his few words.
안녕하세요. 정우성입니다. 저는 유엔난민기구 친선대사로서 현장에서 수많은 활동가들을 만났습니다. 집을 떠날 수밖에 없었던 난민들의 생명을 구하기 위해서 다양한 분야의 전문가를 필요로 하고 있습니다. 여러분의 소중한 난민을 위하여 사용하시지 않겠습니까? 여러분의 꿈을 응원합니다.
Okay, that's a short words from our Goodwill Ambassador. And finally, this is where you can find us. We are quite active on social media, so I encourage you to follow us. You know, we're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. This is the best way for you to be in touch with us, you know, because we are regularly active in terms of, you know, putting out our advertisements. And please follow us, and, you know, you will then have the updated information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Thomas. Now we have Mr. Jeong-Luc Maxelung from the UNDP. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much. The first one? Sorry, which one? This one. This one, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. It's my first time in Seoul, so I feel very privileged to be here and also to see so many people joining us for this session this afternoon. My name is Jean-Luc Marcelin. I work with the United Nations Development Program. My colleague John asked who knows about HCR. I'm not going to ask about UNDP because I fear there will be fewer hands raising up. We are less known, I would say. And however, that's funny because we actually one of the largest agencies in the UN system. I guess we need to hire more people about communication, but also because of the nature of our job. UNDP, United Nations Development Program, work on eradicating poverty and reducing inequality and exclusions. If you want, when you look at the spectrum of the UN agencies, UNHCR is, which has just been presented, is really where places which are on fire, places which are in critical needs now. UNDP works more towards sustainable development in terms of making sure that societies and governments are applying the proper policies to eradicate poverty, but also to make sure that no one is forgotten. It's one thing to have growth in a country, it's another thing to make sure that no poverty pockets remain, be it of being the wrong minority or being in the wrong region, for example. So, in terms of our mandate, this is the official mandate that you can also find on our website. A lot of big words here, I think, a lot of buzzwords also. But that also presents pretty clearly how complex it can be to work in the topics I've just mentioned. First of all, you have to make sure that everyone works together. You have to make sure that there's exchange of best practices around the globe between different countries which have tried different policies. Once again, development is a long-term agenda. This is not something that will happen overnight. UNDP, like many other UN organizations, are also hosts to a donor government. We do not impose our solutions. We make sure that we work together with the government and that we try to advise them as best as we can towards implementing their own solutions. What works one place may not work in the other place. There we go. In terms of coverage, UNDP is actually one of the organizations with the largest network and coverage. We work in 177 countries, and we have a physical presence that is an office in over 130 countries. So basically, we are placed across the globe, except for a few countries in Europe. Other than that, we're everywhere. We have a series of offices, country offices. It means offices working directly with the government in a specific country. We also have offices for the region, which support a whole region. In the case of Asia Pacific, it is based in Bangkok. And we have, of course, our headquarters offices, the main one being in New York, but there are also some subsidiary headquarters offices in Geneva, for example, or in Copenhagen, where I'm based. So, in terms of our activities, basically UNDP follows most of the Sustainable Development Goals because, once again, if you want to work on sustainable development, you need to cover the whole spectrum of the activities. On some occasions, UNDP will be assisting some specialized agencies. Each UN organization will have its own mandate, as you know, and UNDP will usually be helping in the implementation of these agencies' mandates in a specific country. So I'm going to give you just a few examples of some of the achievements of the UNDP on some of these SDGs that we've just seen in the previous slide. In terms of getting new jobs, UNDP has contributed to the creation. I mean, it's not only UNDP. Huh? I'm not just taking the honor on that. It is really the collective effort, of course. But UNDP has been part of the effort in building new jobs, securing new jobs. And quite importantly here, as you can see, close to half of these new jobs are for women, which often are left aside in many societies from the economic growth. In terms of making sure that crises, be it man-made or catastrophes, natural catastrophes, are limited, and if they happened, that the impact is also as limited as possible, UNDP is very much involved in these plans in terms of disaster reduction. And as you can see, we have implemented quite a few plans. Overall, we've contributed to a substantive improvement in terms of a better livelihood. We're also very much involved into making sure that some people, in particular in sub-Saharan Africa, receive antiretroviral treatment, which is critical, of course. One big aspect which is not mentioned here is the fact that UNDP is also very much involved in elections. Generally speaking, UNDP has a lot of activity in governance, and we do support most elections in developing countries, one way or another. I seem to be going the wrong direction here. There we go. So now, if you want to know more about UNDP, you can always read on the website. There are a lot of nice pictures and a lot of nice words and everything. Let's talk a little bit about you also, because that's why we're here, isn't it? What type of profiles do we look for? And here I would really like to echo my previous colleagues who talked about that. You need to burn for making a difference. The UN is about making a difference. It's about this real meaningful information of I'm contributing to a better place. I know it may sound a little bit too idealistic, but this is what we really burn for. Then it's not only that. Working for the UN involves being of the higher integrity, and in particular in a multicultural context. I work in a team of 16 people, and I do believe we are 12 nationalities. This is quite something. You need to get used to working with people coming with a very different cultural background, religious background, all types of thinking which can be different. I'm sure today the newer generations are used to actually interacting much more, exchange students, etc., etc. But it is still something that you may want to take into account. Am I willing to work with people who are so different from me? I believe the answer is yes, otherwise you would not be here. But this is something quite interesting. We also, of course, want people who have this ability to be proactive, dynamic, and flexible. I think this is one of the key words when working with the UN. There's a saying, you say, you know where you're going, you don't know where you will go next. This is a lot about the UN. Flexibility is quite important. You may be hired to work on something, and then the crisis happens, and then you have to slightly reshuffle your activities, and so on and so forth. So really this ability to be flexible is quite important. In terms of profiles, and I'm not going to go into details here, I just wanted to highlight that we have two main types of profiles. Because of the very nature of the organization, UNDP is a large organization with one of the largest delivery in terms of budget in the UN system. We actually look for a lot of different types of profiles. But basically you have two types. The ones working more on questions related to the program, to the programmatic aspects of our work. And then you have profiles which are more towards supporting these activities, like communications, partnerships, human resources, and so on. So depending on your profile, what I'm trying to say here is that actually there's a job for more or less everyone. And if it's not with UNDP, then it would definitely be next door with another UN organization. One profile we do not have too much is health, for example. We don't, except for some questions with HIV, we do not, UNDP does not have health that much as in its mandate. So I think this has been, when it comes to the type of jobs, I didn't put a slide because I thought it would be covered by my colleagues, and indeed it was. I would just like to confirm that what you've heard in terms of the different types of contracts also applies to UNDP, and will, as a whole, usually apply to the whole UN system. There are variations from agency to agency, but usually we do follow the same type of contracts. When it comes to UNDP, we do not have what is called geographical distribution. It means UNDP does not count the nationalities. However, there are not that many Korean nationals in the organization, and we would really much value your expertise as well. And this is why I just wanted to focus on one, if that allows me. There we go. It was actually presented earlier about the Jpo program. I just wanted to make a little presentation, really just a minute on this, because it is one of the best entry doors to the UN system, and in particular for Korean nationals, because the Korean government very generously funds 10 positions a year, which is actually a real unique opportunity for young talent from Korea to join the UN system. UNDP has been extremely fortunate to benefit from the Korean Jpo program over the years, and over half the JPOs from Korea have stayed in the UN system afterwards, which is actually a very, very good figure. You need to have a certain of some qualifications. Age is one, so you need to be usually under 32 years of age. And you also need, for the Jpo program, you need a master's degree and 2 years of experience. Once you have this, you can definitely apply, and the chances for you to be selected are actually pretty good. We have difficulties in identifying candidates, maybe because it's not too known a program sometimes. So if you have the right qualifications for a job, you should definitely go for it. Now, I would just like also to mention the Unv program, which has been mentioned earlier. Unv is also a very good way to gain some experience. A lot of you may think, okay, what's my first job? Well, your first job could maybe be as a youth volunteer, for example, to gain that practical field experience, which will allow you to be competitive later on in the UN system. You may also want to consider non-governmental organizations in the field. UNDP values very much the field-based experience. So as much field experience as possible is a good thing. There's much more about UNDP, but for the sake of time, I will stop here. We will have a session later on, as you know, and I'll be happy to answer more questions on how to join UNDP. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. The next speaker is Ms. Joanna Sadie from the WFP. Please welcome her with a big hand.
Hello, my name is Joanna Sadie. I'm from the World Food Program. I wanted to reiterate, as my colleagues did, the thank you to our host for having us and to see so many faces out there in the audience and I think online as well. So we all greatly appreciate the interest in joining all of our organizations. So WFP, a few things about us. We are one of the largest UN organizations. Our goal is to end hunger. So we are working on Sustainable Goal 2. We couldn't do this without partner NGOs, other UN agencies. We utilize, given where we are, we utilize a lot of the NGOs that have the relationships based out on the field. We reach 80 million people in 82 countries. So we are in quite a diverse, a lot of the locations are hardship duty stations, places such as Yemen, South Sudan, those in need. We do have about 15,000 people working for WFP at the moment across the globe. And we are a little bit unique in comparison to other UN agencies. We are donor funded. All of the money comes from donor governments, private donors. The donations are either in funding or in-kind donations. So some countries such as US and other European nations are donating grain, other foods that we can take and deliver to those in need. So here's a quick snapshot of where we are across the globe. We are headquartered in Rome, Italy. We've got about 1,800 employees, our staff members there. And then the 6 regional offices. So here in Asia, we have an office in Bangkok. Latin American is supported by the Panama office. And you can see we have offices in Africa, in Dakar, Johannesburg, Nairobi, and the Middle East in Northern Africa is supported by Cairo. So due to time, we're going to skip that one. So here's a little bit about, whoops, sorry. A little bit about what WFP does. So traditionally, we deliver food. That's the majority of what we do. So whether it's due to the wars that's happening in Syria, whether it's flood or earthquakes such as the Haiti earthquake that happened a few years ago, WFP was on the ground helping assist and deliver food where needed. Cash and vouchers. This is actually something new that's been evolving over the last few years. Instead of just giving food, we're actually now giving cash and vouchers. So one of the ideas is that it gives money back into the community. So the local economics can grow as well. School meals. We realize that it's difficult for students to focus and to succeed when they're hungry. So we have quite a few programs around the globe where we have nutritional meals for students. And food for assets. This is one of the programs that we have due to climate change in the locations where we are assisting giving food and helping them build out their programs within those areas. Vulnerability analysis and mapping, you'll hear this called VAM as well. What they are doing is monitoring food security and helping present that information to our programming so that they can go and figure out what activities WFP should be doing. And lastly, innovation. There's quite a bit, a little bit different than trucks out on the street. But we have an app which I ask you all to download called Share the Meal. And when you're having a meal, you can go onto the app and donate a meal for someone else as well. Another one is back to the cash and vouchers. We are doing biometric. So to ensure that the person that the money was supposed to go to is actually getting the money. So some of this was gone over by my colleagues, so I won't reiterate in terms of the types of contracts. But if you look over to the right, there's quite a few functional areas. You know, even though we do have the largest logistics team out there, we have on any given day, there's 7,000 trucks, 20 ships, and 70 planes. So there is quite a lot of logistics opportunities, but there's also, if you're in finance, you know, I think sometimes sometimes you think, I'm coming from the traditional field, how am I going to get a job at the United Nations? But we do need more role-specific expertise as well. So everything from finance to communications, like many of my colleagues, human resources, IT, all the way down to security. And I think nutrition is also one that's going to be really important for us in the upcoming years. And here's just a quick snapshot about the Koreans that are working within our organization. We've got about a little over 1,500 employees at the moment, 25 Koreans, and a little bit of a mix. You can see we've got 11 international professional staff, 4 consultants, a couple of volunteers, and interns as well. And so we'd love more of you to join our organization. As the same also as my colleagues, we are a rotational organization out in the field. So if you join WFP as an international professional, you will be asked to transfer to another location. So one of the things, in addition to the motivation, your interest in working for the United Nations, is your openness to working in a hardship duty station such as Yemen, South Sudan, etc., for a couple of years. So in 4 to 5 years, if you are a logistics officer in Mali, you could transfer and become a shipping officer in Djibouti. So it's a really unique opportunity to get a wide variety of skill sets and actually go out into the field and see what's happening with the beneficiaries. And transferring, you get to work with a lot of different nationalities as well. So here's just a couple of our current openings. It would seem that we're just doing aviation at the moment, but if you check our website, we always have new jobs opening up within the organization. So please check back often. So a little bit about the JPO program. My colleague just gave you kind of the background information, but this is a little bit more specific about WFP. So we do have a lot of people with 3 to 8 years of experience. 90% of them have masters, and 70% of them are women. So, and within our organization, JPOs are actually given prioritization in terms of international professional staff. So it's a great opportunity to get in and move up within the organization. And the next session will go over some career progression of many of the JPOs who have risen within the organization. Here's a little bit about our internship program. We just recently revamped our internship program, which should be on our website. You do have to apply within 6 months of graduation, which is a little bit new, and internships last 8 months. And unlike some other organizations and corporations, we do actually pay, which is quite nice. So the benefit to coming to WFP. We pay, I think it's depending on the daily subsistence rate, but it's up to $1,000 US. So it's a good thing. So here's a little bit of information about it. And again, you can find all of these roles up on our website. So that's it. I'm going to be within my 10 minutes. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Joanna Sadie. Now we have Mr. Eric Tagnon from the WHO. Please welcome him with a big hand.
Good afternoon. Are you still with us? So thank you for your warm welcome here in Korea for this a very important session. So I will try to explain to you what is WHO, what we are doing to complete what my colleagues just explained to you. So if okay, so I can start. WHO is one of the specialized UN agencies, and we are part of this, when my colleagues from the UN Secretariat show you the organizational chart of UN, we are part of this small group of specialized UN agencies. Okay. So, our ambition is to attract talents from Korea to make a difference in our organization, but not only difference for our people, but not only difference for your lives. So, WHO, as I told you, is just there in this group of UN specialized agencies, and we are organized at 3 different levels. Our headquarters located in Geneva, 6 different regional offices, and mainly country offices, because we are focused on our country offices. So we have 6 regional offices across the world, in Africa, in Europe, in Western Pacific, and the headquarters of the Western Pacific region is located in Manila, covering Korea, Asia, and all Pacific countries. In Cairo for North and East Asia, and the last one is located in Delhi. But we are, from headquarters through our regional offices, fully focused on our country offices, because we are considering that WHO is providing health services to our people in the field, in country offices. More than 50% of our staff are based in country offices. And our goal now is to even increase the number of our staff in country offices. As you know, our new DG, Director General, just started his appointment last Monday, this week. And one of his major and strategic objectives is to give and to allocate more resources, human resources, financial resources, to countries. More than 7,000 staff members are working for countries, but it's not enough. We still need you to send you to the field to work for our population's health. So WHO is represented everywhere in the world. You can see here our headquarters located in Geneva, and all our country offices and the 6 other regional offices. What is WHO's core and main missions? The first one is, as you know, to provide the leadership on public health domain. We are having the leadership on all health, global health, public health issues, and we are not working alone. We are working with other UN agencies, other UN sister agencies in this very important function of leadership in public health sector. We are also providing stimulation and pushing for scientists for research in the health domain to be more creative, to be more productive, and to be in a position to give very innovative solutions to the main health public health issues we are facing around the world. Our other main mission is to set the standards, rules, policies in public health. And if our country members, our partners, they are trusting WHO, it's mainly because the standards we are providing, the policies we are giving, the advice we are giving to the member states are based on evidence. They are based on ethical values. And before WHO will provide any policy, any advice, any norms, it's after, checking, controlling, and it's always based on evidence. And that's the strength of the brand WHO. WHO is really a trusted agency, mainly because of the importance of the ethical and evidence-based advice we are giving to our member states. The other mission of WHO is to support member states. So we are working very closely with Ministry of Health of all governments to help them to build, to design the best health system possible for the countries and to help them to implement our norms and policies. So it's a really very close relationship with Ministry of Health in all country offices. And the last main mission is, of course, to monitor what is happening around the world concerning health issues, because the sooner an outbreak is detected, the better we can be able, to stop it. So we are monitoring all around the world the symptoms and all health issues in the world. So that's also our mission, in close collaboration, again, with Ministry of Health and governments. WHO, we have 6 main priorities in public health domain. The first one is the universal health coverage. Our objective, our goal is to help all our people to have access to health premises all around the world, and without any condition, any financial condition, any social conditions, any economic conditions. All people living in the world should have access to health premises. That's one of our main priorities. The second one is to lead the health regulation around the world. Okay? The third one is to increase access to medical products, but not only to give access to medical products, but also to ensure that medical products are good. So our main challenge today is to fight all these fake medical products, especially in developing countries. That's WHO's very big challenge today. So this priority, top priority, is very important for us, not only to give access to medical products, but to give access to good medical products. We are also, as Jean-Luc just explained later, participating to and working on social, economic, and environmental determinants on the health, because as you know, our health today is really conditioned by what we are eating, nutrition, the air we are breathing, pollution, our economical condition, our social condition. So all this, if you are not working with other UN sister agencies to address these issues, we cannot ensure that our people could have access to good health premises. So WHO is also working on these social, economic, and environmental determinants because our health today is conditioned and linked to all these global issues. We are working, one of our main challenge is also NCDs, non-communicable diseases. Especially in developed countries, we are considering that there is a kind of epidemics concerning non-communicable diseases with obesity, blood health, blood pressure issues. So for WHO is also one of our main challenges and priorities. And the last and not least is the special attention we are giving to women and child in accordance to the MDGs. We are in our main challenges and priority giving a special attention to MDGs development, Millennium Development Goals. So, to do all these priorities, we are organized through these 5 divisions, domains: communicable diseases, non-communicable diseases, health system, health security, and management, admin, and finance. So it's true that the main background we are looking for and we want to attract in WHO is those with medical and public health background, medical doctors, specialists in public health. But not only, we also want to attract those who are working in the management, admin, and finance, what we call supporting functions. It's very important for us to not only attract scientists, medical doctors, public health specialists, but also those who are working in human resources, accounting, IT, management, and public administration. All these domains, we are also interested in attracting them. So do not consider that WHO is only looking for scientists and medical doctors. We are also looking for talent coming from other domains. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. The next speaker is Mr. Zamir Froten from the ICAO. Please welcome him with a big hand.
Good afternoon. I'm copying John now because I'm going to have same questions. Good afternoon. Fantastic. Looks like everyone is awake. Then I'm going to ask a question with the show of hands. Maybe you could tell me how many of you, before learning about this job fair and before coming to this session, knew about ICAO? Fantastic, impressive, 3 people. Now that you know that ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization, how many of you think it is part of the United Nations or it's not part of the United Nations? Show of hands. Who thinks it's part of the United Nations? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15. Good. And the rest thinks it's not part of the United Nations. It is part of the United Nations. Okay, one last question. Someone may just show a hand and I will select. What do you think? How many flights do we have in a day around the world? How many airplanes, civilian airplanes, are flying around the world? Show of hands. I'll ask. How many do you think? Our participant here? No, nobody is showing a hand, so I'm selecting. Yeah? 1,000. More? Less? 1 million. Too much. We have 100 flights, civilian flights a day that's operating around the world. And that's why we need a regulatory body like United Nations International Civil Aviation Organization to make sure there is safety, security, and standards for all civilian airlines. So with that, we're going to start a very short presentation. My colleagues already covered most of the information that you need to know about the jobs in UN, and ICAO is part of the United Nations, and that's why we'll go short on this. Okay, everyone has this challenge to find out how it works. Oh? Okay. So international civil aviation, which is called ICAO, and in some states they call it ICAO, was created based on the Convention of Chicago. The Convention of Chicago is a convention on international civil aviation, which was signed in December 7, 1944. After signing the Convention of Chicago, the Permanent International Civil Aviation Organization office was established in Montreal, Canada in 1947. Our vision and mission, like all other UN agencies, is to achieve the sustainable growth of the global civil aviation system. That's like too wordy, I don't know. Do you understand what it means? Yeah? Okay, then it makes it easier in mission. It's to serve as the global forum of states for the international civil aviation organizations, and ICAO's work is to develop policies, standards, recommended practices for all the member states that ICAO has to make sure that we have a standard and appropriate civil aviation system around the world. It also makes sure that it provides aviation capacity development support to the member states where they are in the need of capacity building. What we also do is that we make sure that we do audit of the civil aviation systems, their security systems, their air traffic control system, their air traffic management system, to make sure that all the civilian airlines are operating in an efficient and in a safe manner. So the relationship of the ICAO with the United Nations, I was not surprised that everybody did not know that ICAO is not part of the United Nations. It is part of the United Nations. It's considered one of the specialized agencies of the United Nations. Specialized agencies similar to WHO. It's in that chart that our colleagues showed. In that corner where you find WHO, that's where you also find the ICAO. And most of the specialized agencies, they are like independent bodies. They're independent organizations, but they are part of the United Nations as part of a cooperative agreement. There is a small difference between ICAO or ICAO and other UN agencies. As you might know, United Nations has its assembly, and there's council, and there's like secretariats. But similar to that one, ICAO has its own assembly, which is represented by 191 states. And then it has a council that has a permanent body of 36 member states, and these member states in assembly as well as in council meets every 3 years to discuss and determine the objectives of the organization, the plans for the organization to look into for the next 3 years. And they also select the Secretariat, and there's a Secretary General for ICAO as well. And there's definitely committees and commissions that upon need, upon requirement of the member states, are established through the council or through the assembly. Staffing, we're not a very big organization comparing to United Nations, Secretariat, or let's say comparing to UNDP, because this is a specialized agency with very technical type of work. So we have about 700 staff, out of which 345 staff are international professionals. Female staff in the professional level is about 32%, so it means that we encourage more and more female participants. And I'm very happy to see a lot of female participants in this session, which means you're interested to work for ICAO and the United Nations. In case of Republic of Korea, geographical representation, as our colleague mentioned, in terms of overall United Nations representation, as Yoon mentioned, the Republic of Korea has sufficient representation. But when it comes to agency specific, in case of ICAO, the Republic of Korea is considered underrepresented, which means there's a lot of opportunity for all of our colleagues from the Republic of Korea, from our applicants, to participate in our recruitment process and be selected. Who are we and where are we? So we talked about who we are. We are not in all over the world in terms of our offices. Our headquarters is located in Montreal, Canada. Unlike most of the agencies which are in New York or in Geneva, we're one of the agencies which is in Canada. And we have 7 regional offices in Bangkok, Cairo, Dakar in Senegal, Nairobi in Kenya, Lima in Peru, Mexico City in Mexico, and Paris in France. However, because we are providing support to all of the 131 member states, whenever there is a need, whenever there is a project, we are providing field project support worldwide. What is our recruitment principles? I'm not going through the detail of what are the positions that we are recruiting, as most of the colleagues already covered it. In short, we're also recruiting international professionals. We are having JPOs in case if there is a state that is donating funding for those JPOs. We have internships, which is open for all of the member states and all over the world, like for all external applicants, as well as we have consultants, as well as we have our general support staff, which is recruited from the particular countries where we operate. But the specific principles that we look into is that we aim to secure the highest standard of efficiency, competence, and integrity in our organization. That's pretty much common in all of the UN agencies, and that's something that you will need to look into and make sure you have it when you are participating in our recruitments. We're committed in a diversified workforce. As you can see today, we are representing 7 agencies, and here you see 7 different nationalities, 7 different people. So this is how the UN is, and this is how the UN agencies would like to be, a diversified environment. And we would like to ensure that we have representation from all of our 191 member states. That's why we have this geographical distribution, and we encourage the Republic of Korea citizens to apply for our opportunities. And we ensure that we provide an environment where the contribution of our staff is valued. Thank you very much. We have more detail that's going to be as part of our next session.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, we have Mr. Makoto Miyasako from the OECD. Please give him a warm round of applause.
So finally, the end of the first session. I can see some of you are dying to get out of this room. But before I'm going to talk about, well, we have 10 minutes, so you have to bear with me. But before I'm going to talk about the OECD, and that's the organization I work for, first I'd like to start talking about myself, because I'm here. Disclaimer, and of course there's a reason why I'm going to talk about myself. I don't like pumpkins, okay? And as opposed to the pumpkin, I like fish, particularly salmon. And I love lemon ice cream. So you have a choice. When I go to some of the dinner, and somebody cooks for me the pumpkin and fish, let's say salmon, that I like. I have two choices. Either I finish pumpkin first, and then eat salmon. Or I eat salmon I like first, and then I eat pumpkin at the end. I don't have a choice not to eat pumpkin, okay, because somebody cooked the meal for me. So in this case, well, I think everyone has a different way of eating this kind of situations. My personality is I always finish pumpkin first, very quickly. And then I eat my favorite meal, in this case salmon, very long and slowly, and enjoy it. And then looking for my most favorite, which is going to be lemon ice cream. So this is how I'm going to do my presentation today. On this first session, I'm going to give you guys a pumpkin. And you're wondering why I have to do that. There are two reasons. Well, there are three reasons. Reason one is, in fact, pumpkin is very good for your health. Well, at least that's what my mother tells me. And then, as being a good son, I have to listen to my mother. So I still have to give you a pumpkin because it's good for your health. And that applies here. Essentially, pumpkin for you today is what does the OECD do, which I think is quite important. At the same time, it can be a bit boring. The reason why I think it's important is, especially in these occasions, we are the 7 agencies, okay? And you're beginning to realize there are so many similarities. And you might be thinking then, what are the differences? And these differences are coming from what we do are quite important for you when you think about your career opportunities. Because I could say this way, just by looking at these people. UN Secretariat, it is possible. There is a similar job opportunities between UN Secretariat and OECD. UNDP, sure. I'm just going to skip you guys. ICAO, totally sure. But for me, it is very unlikely to imagine we do have a much similar job opportunities between us and UNHCR and WFP. And the reason being is because what we do, even though we belong to the same industry called international organizations, it's quite different. So no matter how boring it may sound for next probably like 6 minutes I have now, I think it is important for you to keep in mind there are certain differences, and it helps you to identify what kind of jobs would you be looking into when you start searching into the opportunities. So that's the part of the reason I'm doing. And the reason too is, my understanding is after these sessions, we are moving into the different room. OECD is moving to the 3rd floor with WHO. And so that means those who are coming to join us after this session is the special customers to me, because you chose the OECD to know more about the OECD. So those people who's coming to the 2nd sessions, I'm going to give you guys salmon, okay? You might be joining because WHO about that. That's your lucky day. So then you might be wondering about, I'm almost ready to go into about the OECD. And then you might be wondering about, then what about lemon ice cream? Am I going to give it to you guys? The answer will be yes. My lemon ice cream, and I'm going to take this advantage to introduce my colleague, is Clarissa sitting here. This type of the opportunities, usually we come to Korea twice a year to meet people like you, to trying to encourage you to think about OECD as your future career destinations. And I believe, well, my slides are pretty slick and cool and good. But still, I think the most important asset you can gain from an event like this is the network to get to know the people who is actually working for the agencies that you are interested, and you can ask that person if you come up with the question later when you start seriously thinking about applying to the OECD. So here, Clarissa, very good Clarissa, I have asked her to bring as many possible business cards as possible for this occasion today. And I believe you brought 3,222 business cards? Yes. So what I would encourage you to is spare with me for probably I have like 5 minutes now. And then come join us for the next 20 minutes for the next session. No, not 20 minutes, 40 minutes, I think. And then try to get to know Clarissa, exchange a few words with her, and ask her business card. And feel free to ask any questions you may have later when you start seriously thinking about your career opportunities in the OECD. All right? And now I'm going to talk about the OECD. Most difficult part to talk about the OECD, at least for me, and I work for the OECD almost 10 years, is to explain what we do. And the simplest way, I thought about it many times, and it's not my first time to make this type of presentations, and I always struggle to tell you what we do. And I thought the simple way is actually to use what we are already using. So some of you might have heard a word called corporate identity or corporate slogan. So that's this very catchphrase that each organization, companies and organizations use to express this is what we are about. Okay? It's not about what they sell or what they believe. It's really about the positioning of this is what we strongly believe, and that's why we are here. For example, this, because you're worth it. It's not about you guys, to be honest, but this is actually the corporate slogan, and some of you probably know it, of the one of the most famous corporate slogans invented in the 90s. You probably already know it. L'Oreal. It's cool, yes? L'Oreal sells cosmetics, but they don't talk about cosmetics. They're essentially saying, we do this because you are worth it. And that's their pitch. It's so cool and nice. Some of the other examples. This is another example. Diamond is forever. Also equally one of the most famous marketing slogans invented in 20th century, apparently. You probably know it. This is invented by the company called De Beers. They control the world's largest market distribution of diamond. And point here is, what De Beers, they sell diamond. But that's not what they believe, or that's not what they're trying to tell people. They are selling something that is forever. Well, by the way, I am not representing De Beers, if you're wondering, but some of the examples. Another example, best one, nothing. It's also pretty famous one. Some of you might already know it. It's essentially really about companies saying, all we care about is the best in the world. If it's not best, we are not doing. What's the company? Mercedes-Benz, yes, somebody already said it, very good. So let's flip. What is the OECD's CI, corporate identity or corporate slogan? And I think this is really tells what we are about. Better policies for better lives. And that's really about the OECD's. So if you are interested, or if you have the resonate, sympathies, if you feel what you believe is something similar to what OECD believes, then you have to have a sympathy towards this very simple lines. We provide better policies because we believe that will provide better lives to the people. And now let's go into the OECD in a little bit more detail. This is where the OECD is, and we also provide the location of these three companies we have just shown you an example. This is a map of Paris, and OECD is located in there. Let's go into a little bit more detail. And this is actual OECD building. It's in the Paris, La Muette. We call it Chateau because it is a chateau. You might have questions. If you actually join the OECD, would you get the office in in this building? Answer most likely is no. There might be a chance you might get office in the building next one, but I might warn you, this building does not have air conditioning. So the summer it can be pretty bad. It's a bit, off slow in the reaction. Oh, there you go. So let's look into the OECD in a little bit more detail. And this is one point I want to emphasize. This is a list of the OECD member countries, which are right now 35. Okay? And you might be wondering why we have so less member countries compared to UN systems. The answer is straightforward. We are not part of the UN systems. Okay? We are international organizations, but we do not belong to the UN families. Those who are coming to the second sessions, I will tell you what does it mean for you to understand better about our grading structure, etc., etc. But I'm going to skip the detail at this point. OECD's mission, but since I spend like a significant amount of time talking about the corporate slogans, I'm going to skip that. And then I'm going to go into what we do. Essentially 3 things. Well, you already understand. We exist to work on better policies for better lives. How we do it? 3 things. First, we collect data. Okay? Second, we make sense of data. Okay? And the third, using these data that we have collected and made sense, we provide advice to our members and non-member countries. So that's the linkage of the better policies for better lives. It's very high line, broad lines, but it's an important indication for you. If you are interested in the work of OECD and thinking about the career with us, you have to feel comfortable, confident, and like dealing with data. And that's probably one of the most fundamental requirements that we look from you when you decide to apply to the OECD. I'm going to spend some time on this one. So question is, 2 questions. I said policies. What kind of policies? My answer to you is almost everything. If you want to know more detail, come to second session. Okay? Second questions. I already told you, we only have 35 member countries. You might have a question. So, do you only work for these 35 member countries? Answer is no. Do you want to know more about detail? You know what I'm going to tell you. Briefly talk about who we are, because I believe my time must be almost up. In terms of the number of the people working for the OECD, there are different ways to look at it, but I think simplest way to understand is we are about agency of 3,000 people. And almost everyone is located in Paris headquarters, meaning if you join the OECD, your office will be in Paris. I can't tell you about the building, but I can tell you about where it's going to be. It's going to be Paris. We are about medium sized. We are about the same size as the IMF, I would think. So we are neither one of the big ones, but we are not neither one of the small ones. Give you some ideas. You see it. I hope those who in the back can read it. I'm using the word A-grade officials. Don't worry about it. I'm going to explain at second session if you want to know more. But this is the number of the officials working for the OECD by the nationalities. I'm only going to talk about Korea here. Korea right now, not right now, as of the Feb 2017 this year, we had 27 Korean A grade, which is equivalent to the professionals we use in UN system, or P grade, P and D in this case. We had 27 Korean officials, which is roughly less than 1%. Okay? OECD does not have quota, so I'm not going to use the word it's underrepresented or overrepresented or underrepresented or underrepresented. I cannot say it. But you got my point. And that's part of the reasons why we are here. Gender I will skip for this time, and this is the key information. I'm going to spend more time later. So career opportunities, I'm going to go very quickly, and then I will spend more time later. In terms of opportunities, nothing so different from what you have already heard. This is the volume. I'm going to skip. We have Young Professionals Program. Only difference from us to the most of other agencies, we do not do this every year, every 2 years. That's the difference. And we also have another program which we launched last year. We call Young Associate Program. Do not get confused with the ICAO, because you guys have a Young Aviation Program, right? It's called the YAP. We have Young Associate Program. It's called the YAP. Our program is very simple. This is mainly targeting those who only completed bachelor's degree, okay? So that's the program for. If you have the graduate degree already, you're not qualified to this program, which is a bit counterintuitive, but that it is. I can talk more about this later. And then, so that's the app I will touch upon later. We also do have internship, and we lie somewhere between the WFP and other UN system, I guess. We pay you, but we don't pay you enough. Don't ask me why, that's how it is. I think we pay about 700 euro a month, and trust me, you cannot survive with that money in Paris, but it's better than nothing. And how we recruit, of course, this is the most important part, and this is we plan to intend to give you more advice on practical ideas on how you should be preparing. But of course, this for me is the summon. So I'm going to keep this part to the session number 2, and I'm just going to skip all the way to give you some previews. So this is what we are going to talk about. And then we have another section called tips from us. For the second sessions, if we have enough people, we play this. It's not a game, but this is a quiz, and we will play it later if there's enough people who wants to play this game. So I'm going to end it now for my first session, which was happened to be a pumpkin. So if you find my presentation extremely boring, it was supposed to be, okay? Because this was my pumpkin. My second session, it's going to be more useful, and I think it's going to be more interesting, I hope. And my last dessert, lemon ice cream, also known as Clarissa. I would still strongly encourage you to get in touch with her. And those who already decided not to come to OECD's second sessions, I take it very personally, but at the same time, Clarissa is a very nice person. So if you approach to her right after this session and quickly ask for her business card, I'm pretty sure she's more than happy to provide you one. If you want my business card, I did not bring any, sorry. So I'm going to end this presentation in our usual lines. Of course, you can find more about us, check in the internet, and follow us in the social network. Twitter, Flickr, YouTube, and every imaginable social network is available for you to find out more about the OECD. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makoto Miyasako. And thank you very much for your attention. This is the end of the first session, and now we will have a break for about 10 minutes. So from 16:05, we will have the next session, the group session. For the next session, we will be separated into 3 groups. Those who attend the session for the UN Secretariat and UNDP, please stay in this hall. For the UNHCR, WFP, and ICAO session, you may move to the 3rd floor. Also for the OECD and WHO session, please move to the meeting room on the 3rd floor. Now we will have a break. Thank you very much.